Thank you, Michael. It's my privilege to introduce the next honored guest. He has been an inspiration for me both personally and professionally, and I've been very proud and lucky to call him brother. So that being said, Chili Yazzie, Chili is from the Dene, from Shiprock Navajo Nation, New Mexico. He served his Shiprock community and the Navajo Nation for 45 years in various administrative and elective offices, from local level to the Navajo Nation central government level. He states his credentials as grandpa, farmer, and earth defender. His life has been one of advocating for indigenous civil and human rights. He has served on the New Mexico and the Navajo Nation Human Rights Commissions, and he works with a traditional farmers cooperative. Chili is also greatly concerned with the health of our Earth Mother and the condition for which we leave the planet to our grandchildren in the future. That being said, it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Chili Yazzie.
Thank you, Mike. And thank you, Michael. And most of all, Denise, and all of the participants of our conference here. I'm very privileged to be part of the program here to offer my thoughts the best way that I can. I want to greet everybody as my brothers and sisters and say Yate at this time. Yate in our language is generally accepted as a form of greeting, but the translation of Yate means that Yah means up above, the heavens, the cosmos. And the literal translation of Yate is that I hereby affirm that I am a part of the great universe. So in that way, I greet you all. My clans are, I am Shehe of the Salt people. I am born for Toketlini, which is waters, as in the water, a water confluence, where waters come together. My mother's father's clan is Kia'ani, which is towering house, and my father's clan is Kachitni, red across the forehead. And my children's clan is Kappa, water edge people. Our peoples are a matrilineal society. So our prominent bloodline comes from the mother. And one word about our clan affiliations, as you can hear and hear from other indigenous peoples across the land, the affinity that we have with the earth is accentuated by our identification with our clans, which makes reference to parts of the earth, wildlife, and other natural surroundings. This is a clear showing of our spiritual, cultural, and physical connection with our Earth Mother. I want to, first of all, just briefly comment that on the program, it says that Chili Yazzie, the legendary activist, spiritual leader, that is very much an overgenerous statement. I have been an activist since 1969, and by no means do I regard myself as being of the legendary status. I'm just a warrior. And the second part of that, the spiritual leader, where that identification is made, um, I'm very sensitive about that, in that a spiritual leader is a person that has become very close to the creator and the spiritual entities. And a spiritual leader is an individual that has great knowledge. Those are certainly aspirations that we aspire to, but I am nowhere near close to being a spiritual leader, and I do not pretend to be. And my late dad, he tells me that there are four things that you can be in the Indian world. One is being the chief, the leader. One is being the warrior, and one is being the spiritual leader, the medicine person, and finally the role of the interpreter. And my dad says, you are an interpreter. And so that is my role. That is my role in life, my purpose in life, and that is what I will work to do here today with you, is to share with you what knowledge I have accumulated up to my time in life here, and to share those knowledge and those informations with you in a way that would have relevance in our everyday life and our everyday work. So in that way, I'm very privileged to be here with you today. You know, as my dad said, in the Indian world, I just need to make comment that here that, you know, for some years, I rejected the notion of being an Indian, just because of the misconception, as it turns out to be, that the word Indian is connected to the wayward Columbus back in 1492. And the misconception that he called us Indians because he thought he was in India. But actually, that is not the case. Columbus, the explorer, in his report to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, wrote these words: "So tractable, so peaceable are these people that I swear to your majesties there is not in the world a better nation. They love their neighbors as themselves, and their discourse is ever sweet and gentle, and accompanied with a smile. And though it is true that they are naked, yet their manners are decorous and praiseworthy." Columbus had stumbled upon a utopia, a near perfect world, a place of balance, a real reality. His description reflected a people, a world that was in keeping with what we call the original instructions. And I need to point that out so that it puts our indigenous peoples in the context of the life that we lived before the newcomers came. So the effort that I make today is in hopes that we would be able to adjust our worldview in a way that the informations, the knowledge that I share with you today, we will gain benefit from, for the sake of our the success in our work, the success and the plans that we have, the dreams that we have for a better world. And most importantly, to help situate the plans and the programs to afford our coming generations the greatest chance for a comfortable survival. My talk will be much more expansive than just focusing on farming, though farming in my talks will be a case in point. To put my talk into some perspective, to a context, I want to tell you that I've been working with some of you, and for instance, Kendall from the governor's office for over a year now on policy and legislation development. And through those works, I perceive shortcomings with the way business is done here in the big world, beginning with the state government and all of its affiliates. And the first time that I made comment on this was back in November 2021, when the Speaker of the New Mexico House had a session on what he termed the New Mexico response to the climate crisis. And my comment at the time said that this effort is nice, but not enough. The agenda is framed from the Western thought perspective, which lacks a complete foundation. The effort attempts to begin at a later step without a complete foundation. Just a cursory recognition of the original landlords of these lands without full consultation and incorporation of all understanding and knowledge of the earth is a continued disregard and disrespect of those of who we are and the true nature of the earth. This effort is not our best effort as it is being proclaimed. If the foundational realities of the earth are not given proper credence and space, giving time to elected leadership is basic protocol. However, if their input is mere response to the set agenda, it is unacceptable denigration. As the indigenous of these lands, we require the absolute best effort. If an effort to help the earth is flawed, it is our responsibility to declare such on behalf of our grandchildren and the coming generations. Complete reliance on science and technology and bureaucracy is not enough. I made that comment in the chat box during Speaker Egolf's conference. And I asked that it be shared with everybody, but I don't believe that it was. So since that time, I have been working with on the Food, Farm, and Hunger Initiative, and also the new New Mexico 50-year water plan. And my belief that there are shortcomings in these discussions is further substantiated. So it is with urgency that I propose what I propose on behalf of the health of the earth and the future of our grandchildren. You know, I talk about the indigenous perspective, and my belief, as it is the belief of indigenous peoples, is that our indigenous perspective needs to be at the forefront of any conversation that involves our lands, our waters, and our earth. It is clear to us as indigenous people that if our policymakers and leadership in all capacity understand the need to look at and consider our work through these lenses, that there can be greater clarity, and with all these considered, there would be greater objectivity. This can only lead to a better dialogue and positive benefit for all. Our Indigenous perspective is centered in our understanding of the original instructions. It is an awareness and understanding, a way of life that is common to all Indigenous peoples throughout the hemisphere, and indeed to peoples throughout the world who remain indigenous to their lands and are true to their original teachings. Through these writings, through this writing that I will share, I have made effort to give description to these thoughts. And I want to make a special appreciation of Denise at this time for offering this opportunity for us to present these things that weigh very heavy on our heart and on our mind. And I want to go ahead and share my screen at this time. Is that coming through okay?
Sure is.
Okay, I entitled my presentation, "The Modern Alternative, the Real Reality." That's such a strong statement that may seem a bit much, but how I mean to say that is that in this modern day and age, the way that we conduct business is to our indigenous view very, very tunnel visioned. And so if we consider our indigenous perspective, we will have the benefit of a viewpoint, a worldview that I term the real reality. And I want to go ahead and just read through my writing here, and then I'm going to come back to it and expand on some of the writing that I have here. At the and this, of course, again, is what we call the original instructions. At the creation of the four colors of humanity, each tribe of people received instructions on how to live with all creation for attainment of purpose and happiness. The times of creation were sacred, as it was the birthing of life through the coalescing of the Creative Father and the Earth Mother. A foundational tenet of the instructions is to maintain the exquisite matrix of balance between the earth, which is nature and water, and all the created living, and the seeming non-living, and the creator, the celestial powers, fire, light, and the air. In the sanctity of our origination, the instructions to maintain the balance was for physical care through stewardship of the earth, and spiritual care with song and ceremony. The instructions were the same for each tribe. The lifespan of our planet Earth is inextricably connected to the faithful maintaining of the instructions. The abuse of the earth and the diminished spiritual care has caused a precarious imbalance. The life of the earth appears to be waning, as evidenced by the decimation of species and the climate crisis. In America, the descendants of the original inhabitants are less than 1% of the total population. For the most part, the peoples of America are a lost people, separated from their original lands by choice or force. The lure of gold and power compelled the white tribe to wander the earth, justifying the great and sacrilegious attempt to separate the paradigms of the physical and the spiritual, which is a violation of the Creator's instructions. The consequence of forsaking the original instructions is the unhealthy condition of the planet and the people. We, the indigenous peoples from the Arctic to the Tierra del Fuego, devotedly continue to do our part to maintain the balance with stewardship of the earth and acclaiming our songs and ceremony in an all-enveloping awareness. And an imperative part of the balance is the honoring of all the living and same non-living as our relatives, with compassion for all. In living up to this responsibility, we share our original instructions to restore health to our Earth Mother and to defend the future of the grandchildren for 7 generations. Now I want to go ahead and elaborate a little bit on what I have written here. In where I talk about the 4 colors of humanity, and that there was, I suggest that there was 4 separate creations, and the substance and the validation of that suggestion that there were 4 creations of the 4 colors of man is by the creation stories that all peoples have. We, the indigenous, certainly remember our creation stories. And as human beings put on this earth, our great mission in life is to find our purpose, our life purpose, and to fulfill and to find happiness. The times of creation were sacred. And the 4 elements of life that make life, that we understand and accept, are that the air, light, and fire are direct representatives of the essence of the Creator, and thus are of male orientation. The waters and the body of earth are female. The foundational tenet is a supreme law that remains as crystal as it was in its original form. It does not and will not change, regardless of our pitiful human manipulation, but are by the changes of technology, science, or changes in society. The original laws that were placed here by the Creator remain intact. And where we talk about stewardship of the earth, we all know the care that we indigenous people have of the earth, our affinity to the earth. We, in fact, are the first environmentalists. We are the original landlord. We understand and we live with the earth. We continue to give our spiritual regard for our earth, for her health, as her life is our life. And yes, these instructions were given to the red tribe, the yellow tribe, the black tribe, and the white tribe. And I claim here that these instructions were similar, were the same for each tribe at our original creation. We indigenous maintained those original instructions. Many people, many colors of people have either left their original teachings and they are either a distant memory or they are forgotten. But because of the similarity, the commonality of those original instructions, we, the indigenous here, are willing and offer the sharing of our original instructions because they are truly applicable for all peoples. You know, I talk about, I suggest here in this second paragraph that there may be a time of ending for this earth. And some people say, some of my elders do say that the earth is stronger and more resilient than what we could ever imagine. But I think that planets are born and they die as all life that we know of. One thing that we can agree on is that our earth is in trouble with the exponentially increasing exploitation of her body, the gouging out of the so-called natural resources. What entity of life can survive a continued ravaging of their body entity? You know, here I talk about the wandering white tribe. They have been all over the world. They have exerted their power, their might by force, and believing that they are God-given and that they were superior to all other races. And it is my thought that the greed for gold and power are the greatest threat to the fragile balance that is and remains our responsibility to maintain. In America, we all see that it is the few who hold all the riches and the vast majority are in need. The political country that the United States is professed, the true premise that the United States is professed to have been built upon, in that all people are equal. You know, my comment there is, if that were true, why is it that American history is replete with peoples of color and women and the disadvantage of society and economy fighting and dying for our rights? From the time that we awaken to the time of our sleep, our awareness and supplication is constant. And that's what I mean by an all-enveloping awareness. One aspect of our life is our farming. Our farming is a continuous observance and practice of our stewardship, from the blessing of our seeds to offering our songs and ceremony to the earth for a good harvest, to the sharing of food. It is a complete spiritual observance. And here in our modern day, we hear all these nice catchphrases of regenerative agriculture, of climate adaptation, prescribed burning, and so on, and such, the greening of Earth, the green comets. But we know as indigenous people, these are only facets of our life, of our previous life, before the coming of the newcomers. These are concepts that we lived and practiced throughout the centuries. And in closing, my dear brothers and sisters, an imperative part of the balance is the honoring of the living and seemed non-living. And what that will mean is that all creation, from here to infinity, we are all part of the same creation. We all have the same Creator Father. We all have here on this planet the same Earth Mother. We are all related. There is an interconnectedness between all that there is, that we are aware of. It is our responsibility, as provided through the original instructions, that we restore health to our Earth Mother in the defense of the future of the grandchildren for 7 generations. Some will talk about the 7 generations in terms of our present people, our present generation, and then 3 generations back and 3 generations forward. But other peoples talk about the 7th generation as 7 generations from now. The earth belongs to that generation. And as our indigenous people say, we are only borrowing the earth from our children, from those generations that are yet to come. You know, the way that we are made as human beings, as all life, there are 3 parts to us. One is our body entity, the physical part of us that we can see and feel. The abstract part of us is our breath, is that magical quality that allows us to see, to hear, to taste, to feel. You know, science can break down those traits, those parts of us, and describe a mechanical process of how those things work. But science, in its shortcomings, cannot replicate, cannot represent the true essence of that abstract part of us, which is the Creator Father. And that third part of us is we, the individual, the product of the combination of those 2 elements, the Creator and our Earth Mother. So I want to go ahead and just close here with those thoughts. And you know, at the opening, I did say that I accept that as a mere man, that I have great limitations. What I share with you, some I have are stories that have come down through the generations. Some things you think about, dream about, and you know, we talk about people being knowledge holders, being knowledge bearers. You know, certainly I do not suggest that that's who I am. All I can do as the interpreter is to share with you these thoughts in the best way that I can. But there is a deliberate, there is an urgent reason why I do this. It is looking at the state of our earth, the health of our earth, and the probable danger that our generations into the future face. We here, as servants of the people, as leaders of the people, we must take every opportunity that we can to practice and to live and to believe in those original instructions that we as five-fingered people have. All colors, all beliefs, all language. These beliefs, these original instructions pervade throughout all. You know, and describing those three parts of us, and the fact that there is that creator spirit in all things. You know, one thing that I think that the vast majority of us can agree on is that, in the statement that God is everywhere. Yes, God is everywhere. He pervades. He is the essence of all that he's created. So obviously, then his essence, his spirit also is part of the earth. And that therefore is why the earth is a living entity. She is a spirit. She has feelings. She has aspirations, perhaps in different dimensions, but nevertheless, we as the pitiful human beings that we are, the Creator and the Earth Mother have great compassion for us. And their expectations is that we understand and carry on those original instructions. And my hope, my brothers and sisters, is that we come to this place of understanding together and go forward in our work, in our plans, in our aspirations with a commitment that we be who we are, that we be who we are supposed to be for the sake of our Earth Mother, for the sake of our children, our grandchildren that are yet to come. I thank you greatly for this time and opportunity to share these thoughts. And at this time, Ms. Denise and my dear colleagues, all of you, each and every one of you, I stand open for your thoughts, your questions, and I'll do my best in response to those thoughts and questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chili. That is, you have just really laid a foundation that is really so important for us all to just to hear and hear again, and try to incorporate into our work. I think just speaking for myself, I know, you know, much of my work is just, you know, you're in the day-to-day bits and pieces, the little, you know, as a tactician. But when you pull back that lens as you did, and you really give us that interpretation, you did, you know, it's really important for us to have teachers. Everyone needs teachers and interpreters and reminders of those original stories and the original instructions, and what is really at the foundation of everything that that we all hold dear. And so, yeah, I think if we can just, I see lots of comments are coming in, and I bet there is a question or two here in addition to all of the thanks. It's just your urgency, you know, is really heartfelt, and I want to translate that. I'm always thinking about how I want to go, like, what do we do with that? So let's see if there's a question that we have here for you. There's a lot of wonderful comments from Pam. Thank you for your beauty and integrity. I'm humbled always in your presence by your words. From Charlie Schultz, I will commit to being who I am supposed to be. Thanks for the reminders. Yeah, these reminders are, and it's just so interesting because we spend a good part of our time in this conference as well, in the little technical, you know, this morning we spent 2 hours with the Department of Health talking about WIC and how to implement programs. And those are all really important pieces of what we do, but they're just the little pieces. And so then what you've provided is that framing that, again, speaking for myself, and, you know, I know working in the policy world, it's really hard to, it shouldn't be hard. It should be the beginning. It should be the center, the beginning. Let me see if there's, if anyone has a question, really, you don't even have to, you can unmute yourself or raise your hand and just ask Chili directly too. If anybody has a direct question. I think you've stunned us all into a place of reflection. You know, that says a lot too. Sometimes we have to, you know, it takes a few minutes to really chew on it. And I guess I couldn't help but think about, you know, when you talk about the imbalance, unfortunately, you talked about both. I think there was something where you talked about the exquisite matrix of balance. And then, of course, on the opposite side of that, we have the imbalance. And yeah, how does that modern disconnect? But Valerie has her hand up. So Valerie, please.
Yeah, Chili, thank you so much. I'm always think a lot after I hear you speak, and I've heard you speak a few times and wondered what, you know, where are some places where we can get started on our, you know, what you're calling today original instructions. It's made me wonder, you know, are these seed banks that some of the tribes are putting together, healthy soil projects? I mean, where are some of the places that you think we should be looking to implement a new reality?
You know, seeds are perhaps the greatest reference, the greatest essence of life itself, because absolutely that's where all life is propagated from, whether it be squash or corn or us as human beings. as animals, as insects. So the protection of seeds is so critical. You know, we certainly are very concerned with the science of genetic modification. You know, things like that really question the authority, the sacredness of life. So seed bank to be kept the way that it is that where it will protect and carry on the purity of seeds is so essential. And the second point about the healthy soils and regenerative farming, you know, obviously those are good things that we can do for the earth. Our earth is hurting so badly that whatever we can do, even on our own little gardens, even on our own farms, that all of those little efforts combine and they make a great effort. So yes, by all means, we need to take care of the earth the best way that we can with those practices.
Okay, there are a couple of other good questions in here, Chili. One is from Jackie Frankie. I'm not sure if I said your last name right. And she asked, for those of us working under guidelines and processes, how do you think we can begin to implement these aspects into our work, into the work?
I will send my original instructions writings to Denise, and she can provide that to everybody. And I'm hopeful that my description there is such that it is clear enough for all of us to understand. And where it starts is, yes, with our own selves, with our own hearts, with our own minds. And the tidal wave, the tsunami of the damage that is happening, not only to the earth, but to peoples. It seems so overwhelming. But the fighting back, turning back that tide must start somewhere. And it starts with us as individuals. And you know, one of the things that I truly hope to see is that our state of New Mexico, the government apparatus itself, begin to incorporate these thoughts. So I think that the original instructions, and I don't profess that they are the last word on the subject matter. I truly believe that there is so much more that needs to be said on that by others who understand those concepts. And I think it's a matter of sharing what we know, what we understand. So we can't just conclude this discussion here with this conference. There needs to be a continued dialogue, a continued growth, not only for us as individuals, but as the collective of the body of good hearts that we have here convened here today. So thank you, my sister Jackie, for that question.
Thank you. And Chris from, I think you've got your hand up, from Bombita Farms. Chris, we can't see you, but you're still muted. Maybe your hand accidentally raised, Chris. I'm not sure. There-
Denise,
Yeah,
Denise, I do have a little bit more discussion that I can make in the remaining time,
sure.
since there don't seem to be many questions.
Sure. We'd love to hear.
Okay. Back a while ago, like back in 1980s, or 78, somewhere in that area, when I was yet a young man, I did write a paper that talked about the true essence of the Earth's elements. You know, like right now we say that the coal veins are the lungs of the Earth, and there are connections that can be made on the different organs of the Earth that are comparable to what we have as human beings. But I wrote this paper, and I was invited to a big conference down in San Diego that was a gathering of alternative energy scientists and technocrats, et cetera. And I presented my paper. At the end of the paper, I said that the questions that you have as scientists, I dare say that my grandpa, my grandma, who lives out in the hitherlands of our country, a grandma that may not have running water or electricity, that just lives day to day with her sheep, for instance, by herself. This grandma, this grandpa, I can sit across the table from you scientists, and they can answer whatever questions you have. I made that challenge to them, and with that, I asked for questions. There weren't any. There was just complete silence. So here I read a little piece by that was entitled "Planetary Intelligence Exists, but Earth doesn't have any." A group of astrophysicists, a group of scientists did the study, and I'll read a few quotes out of it, and they say that an open question is whether or not intelligence can operate at the planetary scale, and if so, how a transition to a planetary scale intelligence might occur, and whether or not it has already occurred or is on our near-term horizon. They noted that the understanding of this question could help us steer the future of our planet. Then they say that according to our criteria, it looks like we are not there yet. We don't have yet the ability to communally respond in the interest of the planet, they said. Planetary intelligence would represent the acquisition and application of a collective body of knowledge operating across a complex system of different species at the same time and in a harmonious way that benefits or sustains the whole biosphere. And they are saying that their conclusion is that the Earth is not there, that there has been an evolution of the maturity of planetary intelligence. They said that the early Earth had an immature biosphere, that the second stage had a mature biosphere, and that we are now in a time where there is a an immature technosphere. A technological activity has developed on the planet, but it is not yet sustainably integrated with other systems, such as the physical environment. The million-dollar question is figuring out what planetary intelligence looks like and means for us in practice, because we do not know how to move to a mature technosphere yet. According to these researchers, we currently sit on a precipice where our collective actions clearly have global consequences, but we are not yet in control of these. We are not yet in control of these consequences. Such planetary intelligence would be capable of steering the whole future evolution of Earth, acting in concert with planetary systems and guided by a deep understanding of such systems. At times I say that technology, science have shortcomings. And the basic flaw of Western thought has been that attempted dichotomization, that attempted separation of the spiritual and the physical. That's not how things started out. That's not how things are supposed to be. And because of that attempted dichotomization, science and technology has an incomplete foundation, just like government has an incomplete foundation. Society has an incomplete foundation. And that's where we say, in order to close that gap, in order for us to have a completed foundation of thought and effort, we need to go back to those original instructions. And that's what we offer here. And the original creation of this earth, the different levels of intelligence that these astrophysicists talk about was already in place. That exquisite matrix of balance was already in place. And here now they're saying we are still evolving toward that. That's not the case. That's not true. What we need to go is back to that original design of what was placed here by our Creator, and understand that, to appreciate that, to respect it, to honor it, and to live it. That is the way into the future. Thank you.
There you go.